Hello, and welcome back to Speak English Daily.
Hi, everyone. We are very happy to see you here today.
Have you ever smelled a certain food, heard an old song, or walked into a family gathering and suddenly felt like you had traveled back in time? It is amazing how one tiny moment can unlock years of memories that were quietly waiting inside your heart. Those moments are often connected to family traditions, and today we are going to explore why these simple habits become some of the most meaningful parts of our lives. If you are learning English, this conversation will also help you talk naturally about your own family, your childhood, and the traditions that make your story unique. So get comfortable. Imagine you're sitting with us over a warm cup of coffee, and let's have a genuine conversation.
I love that image, because traditions rarely feel important while they're happening. As children, we often think, this is just what my family does. Then one day we grow older, move away, or start our own lives, and suddenly those little routines become precious. You begin to miss things you never thought about before. Maybe it was breakfast every Sunday. Maybe it was everyone watching the same movie during a holiday. Or maybe it was simply hearing your grandparents tell the same stories every year. Those ordinary moments become treasures.
That's such a beautiful way to describe it. Before we go deeper, let's explain one important word for our English learners. The word tradition means a belief, activity, or way of doing something that people continue over many years. Families pass traditions from parents to children, and then those children often pass them to their own families. It creates a connection between one generation and the next. A generation is a group of people around the same age, such as grandparents, parents, and children.
I like that traditions don't have to be grand or expensive. People sometimes imagine huge festivals or famous holidays, but a family tradition can be surprisingly simple. Some families always eat dinner together on Friday evenings. Others bake cookies every winter. Some call relatives every Sunday afternoon. The activity itself might be small, yet the feeling behind it is powerful, because everyone knows this is something we do together.
My childhood had a tradition that still makes me smile. Every Saturday morning, my family made pancakes together. My father mixed the batter, my mother prepared fruit, and my sister and I argued about who would stir the bowl. Looking back, I barely remember the taste of the pancakes. What I remember is the laughter, the flour on the kitchen floor, and the feeling that nobody was in a hurry. Those are my favorite memories, and they remind me that happiness often grows from ordinary moments.
That reminds me of my grandmother. Every birthday, she baked the same chocolate cake using a handwritten recipe that had been in our family for decades. It wasn't a cake from a fancy bakery, yet nobody wanted anything different. We gathered around the table, laughed, shared stories, and celebrated another year together. The cake became more than dessert. It became part of our family's identity.
That is such a lovely example because it shows another useful word, custom. A custom is a common way of behaving in a family, community, or culture. Some customs are shared by millions of people, while others exist in only one family. Both are meaningful because they help people feel connected.
I think that's the real magic of family traditions. Years may pass, people may grow older, children become adults, and life changes in countless ways. But those familiar moments remind us where we came from and why those connections continue to matter. Sometimes the smallest tradition carries the biggest piece of our hearts.
Listening to your story makes me think about something interesting. Even though families around the world have very different traditions, the feeling behind them is often surprisingly similar. People may speak different languages, wear different clothes, or prepare different meals, but when a special holiday arrives, you can almost feel the excitement in the air. Homes become more busy, children become more curious, and relatives who haven't seen each other for months suddenly find a reason to spend time together. Before we continue, if you're enjoying today's conversation and you want more real English discussions like this, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and join our growing community. We'd also love to hear from you. What is your favorite family tradition? Tell us in the comments because we'd love to read about your culture.
I always enjoy reading those comments because they remind me that there isn't one right way to celebrate. A holiday can look completely different depending on where you live. In some countries, people fill the streets with music and colorful lights. In others, families prefer a quiet meal at home with only close relatives. Some spend hours decorating the house, while others believe the most important decoration is simply having everyone together under one roof.
That's a wonderful point. Let's teach another useful English word. A festival is a special time when people celebrate something important. It might celebrate history, religion, the changing seasons, or a national event. Festivals are often full of music, food, dancing, and happy emotions. Even if you travel to another country and don't understand every word, you can usually recognize the joyful atmosphere.
One thing I noticed is how much effort families put into preparing their homes before a celebration. They clean every room, hang lights, place flowers on the table, or decorate the front door with something meaningful. It's funny because people suddenly become very serious about tiny details that they might ignore during the rest of the year.
I know that feeling. When I was younger, I wondered why everyone cared so much about matching tablecloths or arranging plates so carefully. My mother would smile and say, "Our guests should feel welcome the moment they walk through the door." As an adult, I finally understand that those little details are another way of showing love.
Family holidays also create something many people wait all year for: a reunion. A reunion happens when people meet again after being apart for a long time. Cousins who now live in different cities, grandparents, aunts, uncles, and old family friends all come together. Sometimes the conversations continue late into the evening because everyone has months of stories to share.
I think that's why holidays stay in our hearts for so many years. We rarely remember every gift or every decoration, but we remember the people who laughed beside us. Those moments become part of our personal history, and they also become part of our culture. Culture includes the traditions, beliefs, food, music, and ways of living that people share with one another. Every family adds its own small chapter to that larger story.
Speaking of culture, I find food to be one of the strongest ways people express it. You can walk into a kitchen during a celebration almost anywhere in the world, and before anyone says a word, the smells already tell you that something special is happening.
I couldn't agree more. There is something magical about a kitchen before a celebration. Some people chop vegetables while someone else prepares dessert. Another family member tastes the soup, another sets the table, and somehow everyone finds a job. Even children love helping, although their version of helping sometimes creates a little more work for the adults.
That brings back a hilarious memory from my childhood. My cousins and I wanted to surprise our grandparents by making bread without asking for help. We looked at the old recipe, measured everything with complete confidence, and proudly placed the dough in the oven. About 20 minutes later, we realized we had forgotten one very important ingredient: the yeast. Instead of soft bread, we produced something that looked more like a heavy brick. My grandfather laughed so hard that he could barely speak, and instead of being disappointed, he thanked us for trying.
I love stories like that because they remind us that cooking together isn't about perfection. My grandmother had a notebook filled with recipes written by hand. Some pages had tiny stains from flour or soup, and others had notes squeezed into the corners. Every time she opened that notebook, it felt as though she was opening a family album. The recipes carried memories along with instructions, and that made every homemade meal feel special.
There's also something fascinating about how every family protects one secret ingredient. Ask someone why their soup tastes so good, and they'll smile without giving you the whole answer. Maybe it's a spice, maybe it's a special cooking method, or maybe it's simply years of experience. Whatever the reason, those little secrets become part of the family story.
Another interesting difference is how families eat together. In some places, everyone sits down at the same time and waits until every plate is served. In other places, people enjoy a more relaxed style, where dishes are shared across the table and conversations move as freely as the food. Neither approach is better, they simply reflect different traditions, and learning about them helps us understand one another.
I think the most memorable meals aren't always the most expensive ones. They're the ones filled with conversation, laughter, unexpected mistakes, and people asking for one more serving because everything tastes so delicious. Long after the meal is over, those moments continue to feed our hearts, and that's why food remains one of the strongest family traditions anyone can pass from one generation to the next.
It's interesting how food often leads to another part of family life, the big milestones we celebrate together. Think about birthdays and weddings. No matter where you live, those events seem to bring out everyone's emotions. Some people become excited, some become sentimental, and someone always ends up taking far too many photos. Even though the customs vary from country to country, the purpose is usually the same. We want to honor an important moment and share it with the people we love.
Birthdays are a great example because they can look completely different around the world. In many places, people gather around a cake, sing a birthday song, light candles, and make a wish before blowing them out. Somewhere else, the birthday person might receive special foods instead of cake, or friends might organize a surprise party. The details change, but the happiness feels familiar.
For our English learners, here's a useful word. A celebration is a happy event that marks something important, such as a birthday, graduation, wedding, or holiday. Celebrations give people a chance to pause their busy lives and appreciate meaningful moments together. I think that's something we all need more often.
I agree. When I was little, birthdays in my family were never about expensive presents. My parents had a tradition that I didn't fully appreciate until I grew older. Every birthday, everyone around the table had to share one reason they were thankful that I was part of the family. As a child, I felt a little embarrassed listening to all those compliments, but today I realize those words became some of the greatest gifts I ever received.
That's such a touching tradition. It reminds us that a gift doesn't always come wrapped in colorful paper. Sometimes encouragement, kind words, or a heartfelt letter stays with us much longer than something we buy in a store. Those emotional gifts often become memories that people carry for the rest of their lives.
Weddings create that same emotional feeling on an even larger scale. Every country has its own wedding ceremony, and many families include customs that have been passed down for generations. Some couples wear traditional clothing, some dance with relatives until late at night, and others include lucky symbols that represent happiness or a strong future together. Even guests often have special roles, making everyone feel connected to the occasion.
One word you'll often hear during weddings is blessing. A blessing is a wish or prayer for someone's happiness, health, or success. Parents may give their children a blessing before they begin married life. Grandparents might offer advice, and friends express hopes for a joyful future. Those moments may only last a few minutes, yet they often become the emotional heart of the entire day.
Traditions also continue after the wedding. Many couples celebrate their wedding anniversary every year. Some return to the place where they first met, while others cook the same meal they shared on their wedding day. I think those little traditions help people remember why they fell in love in the first place, especially during busy years when life feels rushed.
What's fascinating is that traditions aren't frozen in time. Younger generations often keep the parts they love while adding something new that reflects their own personalities. A family might replace formal speeches with funny videos, or include music from different cultures because the couple grew up in different countries. The tradition evolves, but the feeling remains.
That's true, and I think the strongest traditions aren't the ones that never change. They're the ones that continue bringing people together even as families grow, move, and create new memories.
Speaking of memories, not every family tradition needs a birthday cake or a wedding dress. Some of the most meaningful traditions happen on completely ordinary days when nothing special appears on the calendar.
That's probably my favorite kind because they happen without pressure. In my family, Sunday dinner was almost impossible to miss. No matter how busy everyone became during the week, Sunday evening belonged to the family. Phones stayed off the table, television stayed quiet, and conversations lasted much longer than the meal itself. Looking back, I realized those dinners quietly built a strong family bond.
I love that idea because consistency matters. A routine is something you do regularly in the same way, and sometimes a routine slowly grows into a treasured family tradition. One family might always watch a movie on Friday night, another might play board games every Saturday, while another enjoys an evening walk after dinner. None of those activities sound extraordinary, yet they become the moments children remember years later.
We had family game nights, and I have to admit, they became surprisingly competitive. My grandfather celebrated every victory like he had won an international championship, while my younger cousin invented creative rules whenever she started losing. We laughed until our stomachs hurt, and nobody cared who finished with the highest score.
Those evenings also teach another important idea: quality time. Quality time means spending meaningful time with people instead of simply being in the same room. You don't need expensive entertainment. Sometimes talking during a walk or sharing hot chocolate on a rainy evening creates stronger memories than an expensive vacation.
One small habit in our house still makes me smile. Every evening after dinner, my parents suggested a short walk around the neighborhood. At the time, I thought we were only stretching our legs, but those walks became the place where we shared good news, solved problems, and listened to one another without distractions. Those conversations made us feel closer.
I think that's the hidden power of family traditions. They're not only about holidays or ceremonies, they're built through ordinary moments, repeated with love, patience, and intention until they become part of who we are.
Years later, people may forget what day it was or what the weather looked like, but they'll remember how it felt to be together. And in the end, that feeling is what turns simple habits into lifelong family traditions.
As we've been talking, one thought keeps coming back to me. Families never stay the same forever. Children grow up, people move away for work or education, relatives settle in different countries, and suddenly the traditions that once felt effortless require much more planning. That can sound a little sad at first, but I also think it's proof that traditions are stronger than geography. They find ways to survive, even when life changes.
I know what you mean. I have a friend who moved thousands of kilometers away from his hometown. During his first holiday abroad, he admitted that he felt lonely because everything around him was unfamiliar. The streets looked different, the weather was different, and none of the neighborhood sounds reminded him of home. Then his family suggested having dinner together over a video call. Everyone cooked the same meal, placed a phone at the end of the table, and spent 2 hours laughing as though they were sitting in the same house. It wasn't identical to being together, but it was comforting.
That's a wonderful example of another useful word: adapt. To adapt means to change your way of doing something so it works in a new situation. Families adapt all the time. Maybe they celebrate on a different date because of work schedules, or they replace a long journey with an online gathering. The tradition changes a little, but its purpose remains.
Technology has definitely transformed family life. Years ago, people sometimes waited weeks to receive letters or photographs from relatives living far away. Today, grandparents can watch a grandchild blow out birthday candles through a phone screen. It's remarkable when you stop and think about it. Technology can't replace a warm hug, but it can help people stay emotionally close.
That leads us to another important vocabulary word: distance. Distance usually describes how far apart two places are, but people also use it when talking about emotional separation. Family traditions have a unique ability to reduce both kinds of distance. Even if oceans separate relatives, shared customs remind everyone that they are still part of the same family story.
I also admire families who create new traditions after moving somewhere else. Imagine parents raising children in another country. They might cook dishes from their homeland while also learning local recipes. They celebrate familiar holidays, but also join community events in their new neighborhood. Instead of choosing one culture or the other, they build something beautifully mixed.
That's such an inspiring way to look at it. Another useful word is preserve. To preserve something means to protect it so it continues into the future. Families preserve old songs, recipes, stories, and even funny expressions that younger people might not hear anywhere else. Sometimes grandparents become the guardians of those memories, gently passing them to the next generation before they're forgotten.
My grandfather used to tell the same stories every winter, and when I was younger, I secretly hoped he would tell a shorter version. Now that he's gone, I would happily listen to every single story again, even the longest ones. Funny how time changes our perspective.
It really does. Those stories become more valuable as we grow older because we begin to understand what they were giving us all along. They weren't only sharing information, they were building a connection between the past and the future, making sure every generation knew where it came from.
That's why traditions don't disappear as easily as people imagine. They may look different from one decade to the next, but their heart keeps beating because families keep choosing to carry them forward.
And perhaps that's the perfect question to ask next. Why do these traditions matter so much in the first place? Why do people become emotional when they remember a family meal, an old photograph, or a holiday song they haven't heard for years?
I think the answer begins with identity. Family traditions quietly tell us who we are. Long before children understand history or culture, they learn simple routines at home. They learn how birthdays are celebrated, how guests are welcomed, and how relatives care for one another. Those experiences become part of their understanding of the world.
That's connected to another important vocabulary word, belong. To belong means to feel accepted and connected to a group. Every person wants that feeling. When children grow up surrounded by traditions, they often feel that they belong to something larger than themselves. They know they are part of a family with shared memories and shared hopes.
I also believe traditions teach respect without needing long lectures. Children watch adults listening to grandparents, helping younger relatives, sharing meals, and thanking those who prepared them. Those actions quietly demonstrate kindness and consideration. Sometimes people learn more from watching than from being told.
That's so true. Families also pass on important values. A value is a belief about what is important in life. One family may value generosity, another honesty, another perseverance, and another hospitality. Those ideas are often woven into traditions so naturally that children absorb them without even realizing it.
There's another word I really like, heritage. Heritage is what we receive from previous generations, including traditions, language, beliefs, and customs. It reminds us that our lives are connected to people who came before us. Even if we never met some of our ancestors, parts of their lives continue through the traditions we keep today.
When I think back to childhood now, I don't remember every toy I owned or every television show I watched. I remember conversations around the dinner table, the excitement before family visits, and the comfort of familiar routines. Those moments became far more meaningful than I ever expected because they shaped the person I became.
I couldn't agree more. Family traditions may begin with simple actions repeated year after year, but over time they become invisible threads connecting love, memories, and generations, reminding us that wherever life takes us, home is never only a place, it's also the people and traditions we carry within us.
As we've talked today, one thing has become very clear to me. Family traditions don't begin because someone makes a complicated plan. Most of the time, they begin with one simple moment that people enjoy so much they decide to repeat it. That could be sharing breakfast every Sunday, reading stories before bedtime, planting flowers every spring, or calling grandparents every weekend. None of those ideas require a lot of money. They simply require a little time, a little care, and the decision to be present with the people who matter most.
I think that's encouraging because many people believe traditions have to be big events. In reality, some of the strongest traditions are wonderfully ordinary. A family might make popcorn and watch an old movie once a month. Friends who feel like family might cook dinner together every Friday. Parents might ask their children one question every evening: "What made you smile today?" Those moments don't cost anything, yet they slowly become priceless.
I also love the idea of bringing gratitude into everyday life. Imagine ending each week by thanking one another for something kind that happened. It doesn't have to be a long speech. A simple sentence can brighten someone's day. Kindness has a way of growing when people notice it, and traditions built around gratitude often become the ones people remember most.
Storytelling is another beautiful tradition. When older family members share funny childhood adventures or difficult experiences they overcame, younger people discover more than family history. They learn courage, patience, and hope. One conversation around the dinner table can stay with someone for decades. It's amazing how one story can become a lifelong memory.
And, of course, never underestimate the power of shared meals. Whether it's a homemade breakfast, a simple picnic, or dinner after a busy day, eating together creates opportunities to laugh, listen, and reconnect. The food is important, but the conversations around the table often become the true heart of the experience.
Before we finish, let's review a few words we've learned today. A tradition is something people continue over many years because it has special meaning. A memory is something from the past that stays in your mind and often brings emotion with it. To celebrate means to enjoy and honor an important event or achievement. Heritage is the customs, stories, beliefs, and history that we receive from earlier generations and carry into the future.
I hope today's conversation reminds you that you don't have to wait for the perfect moment to begin something meaningful. The tradition you start this week could become the story your children, grandchildren, or close friends tell many years from now. Small acts of love often create the biggest impact, even if we don't realize it at the time.
We hope this conversation has inspired you to look at your own family with fresh eyes and appreciate the moments that may seem ordinary today. One day they could become the memories you treasure most. Before we say goodbye, we'd love to leave you with one final question. If you could create one new family tradition, what would it be? Thank you for spending this time with us, and until our next conversation, take good care of yourself and the people you love.